Hey guys, this is Mao Jaxa,
And I'm Cal Jackson.
and we're Bright Plume Games.
I want to go through the process here of explaining why we do what we do certain things. So let's go outside here real quick.
Okay. Oop.
Yep.
Let's not both click on the door at the same time.
Alrighty. So it's a box. This is our base, but this is just a crafting base. And I kind of want to go through the process here of explaining why we do what we do. So I want to have Mao explain why we build a utility box. Why have her do this for us? We're going to start with the size and its shape.
So this is called the utility box because it is just that. It is not a horde base. It's just a small, it's not tiny, but it's just big enough to accommodate one or two players and all the benches you might need so that you can make this the core inside of your base. And then you can add upon it any pretty stuff or extra rooms, role play, whatever. And you could attach your horde base to it, but I don't recommend doing that. I recommend going out to the edge of the property and putting your horde base out here. But that's why it's small, because you have to gather like 4,000 wood just to build this. If you go bigger, that's more wood. It is a 9 by 9 base
Oh, right.
footprint to give you a 7 by 7 interior. The 4,000 wood includes crafting 20 of these boxes, the wood crates, as well as all of the building materials, all the building blocks, and the ladders. And it's designed for 32 farm plots that go all around the edge here. And the reason the farm plots are only around the edge is because you want to make sure that those farm plots, once they start growing, I'm not absolutely sure about this, but we've had past builds collapse when we went away and our stuff in the farm plots grew. And I think when it grows, it increases the weight, and so even though it was built out of cobblestone, it still collapsed. So I think that's why. I'm not 100% solid, but I believe that's why. So you want to make sure that if you don't want your garden to collapse, make sure it's got solid support. And so that's why I put the farm plots only around the edge on top so that they're solid walls underneath it.
Okay, so let's next talk about uh, what goes where in here.
Okay, so I like to have the hold up to the roof right next to the front door. It just makes it easy for getting up to the roof quickly. I like to put the land claim block in the center just because it helps me see that I have the terrain. When you go to place it, you want to make sure that none of your blocks are going to end up floating. So if I'm standing where I'm going to put the land claim block and I do a little 360, I can make sure that none of the terrain is going to dip below where I'm standing. If it is, I'm going to move and make sure that I'm in the dip so that I can dig out places and not be floating, because floating blocks will cause instability.
And the boxes inside here.
Yeah, the box is inside. This stack here is basically where we do most of the sorting. We come in, the sort box is where we just dump everything, and then I rearrange it and sort it from there. The bottom box is seeds, which goes straight up to the roof eventually, and then the cell box is where we keep our coin. Now, I generally let Cal do all the buying and selling because he's the one who takes the points in the buying and selling, and then anything for him I'll throw either in the cell box for him to look at or in his box over here. So next to the sorting station, I there's room for one or two bedrolls, and it's just enough. It's just, a place to respawn at. And then over here, where the masonry and construction and to be melted is where I put a planned space for one or two cement mixers, depending on how many you want to have. The torch wouldn't go there. It's that torch is there temporarily. Um,
Is that left or right of those boxes?
In this layout, they go on top of the boxes.
Oh, okay.
If you don't like your mixers up that high, you could put
Hmm.
the two boxes up on the roof, up on the ceiling, and put the mixers underneath them. But I like my
Okay.
mixers up high. I'm weird. In this space here is allotted for the forge, and that's why the to be melted box is going to be right next to it. The stuff that goes in the to be melted is glass, brass, lead, and iron, and anything like old tools that we're not going to be using anymore that are made of metal, I'll throw them in there and melt them in there when I have time. And
Mm-hmm.
then the masonry and construction is your clay, your cement, your crushed sand, your cobblestone rocks, your cement mix, and then anything that's like speakers or pressure plates or traps or nails, I put it into the bottom as the construction. Speaking
Okay.
of, I can put that clay in there. And then
And
next
then
we move over to this blank space by the window, is where the workbench will go, and that's why it's a double tall window, so that you can see above it and see if there's Zeds out there. I don't like to be completely closed in. I want to be able to see what's going on around me.
very briefly before we continue, I have to ask if you made these out of scaffolding ladder or not.
No, I did not do the scaffolding ladder on this section, even though I learned of that trick after the fact, because I don't really want to fight them. If they're coming up on this location, I'm going to go outside and fight them. I'm not going to try to fight them and use this as a horde base.
Okay. And for those who don't know, scaffolding ladder helps prevent cop spit
Yes,
from penetrating.
right. The scaffolding ladders are bigger spaced and allow you to smack through them better. Like I can't really. Yeah, that's gonna hit the wood. So
All right, back to these boxes here.
okay. So then the vehicle stuff goes on the bottom. Engines and batteries, anything that's car parts, fuel, and then what's it called?
Tires.
No. The stuff that we turn into fuel. Slick.
Oh, shale oil.
Shale. Yeah, oil shale would go next to it so that when we get the chemistry station, we can always be making more.
Right.
Complex parts. This bottom row has a specific thing, and it's been the way I've organized it since I started playing this game. Pipes, springs, mechanical parts, electrical parts, glue, duct tape, forged iron, forged steel. That's this row. And then all the rifle parts and stuff just click on up here. The only one of these specialty parts that I don't put up there in the complex parts goes into textiles, and that's the armor parts, because of the way they've changed how armor parts are used to create the armor. It's no longer just for steel armor, it's now for like all of them past primitive. So now I just throw it up in the textiles box to make it easier to get what you need, whether you're doing light armor, medium armor, heavy armor, whatever.
Right.
Feathers, I will often ask Cal at the beginning of a game series, are you doing archery or not? If he says yes, feathers goes into a different box. If he says no, feathers go in this box.
Right. If I say yes, they go into ammo crafting.
Right. Right now we have arrowheads in ammo crafting. Should I melt those, or are you going to use them?
I'm currently still using a bow for the time being.
Okay, so we're going to move the feathers. Okay. So we're still getting settled. And then underneath ammo crafting is ammo. And that's usually the first box that ends up being upgraded to iron.
Yeah, because you need so much ammo in this game.
I love that feature, by the way, where you can make your rideable crate and then upgrade it when it's time for it to get bigger.
Yeah, great new
I
feature.
fucking love that, yeah. And then gear, he doesn't like me calling it gear. He grumbled about it last time. So I'm going to rename it armor, tools, and weapons. Sorry, I accidentally hit F12 and took a picture. That's what that noise was. Who cares?
Um, I get that you just call it gear, but we have separated those out for so long that I'm having trouble transitioning to gear. So
That's
having armor
fair.
tool, having armor tools and weapons there helps me.
That's and you know, if it's me solo, whatever works for me, but if you're here, I need to make sure you understand the system so that it works for all of
Right.
us. The reason we've gone down to only one box for those three things is because, like, I used to separate out firearms, melee weapons, um, armor, clothing, and then one box for tools. And the reason we've combined it all is because of the changes they've made to the game. We no longer
Right.
need to have different clothing for the heat and the cold. We no longer need to have uh, we also, because we're this is strictly a duo game, we're no longer inviting some of our friends to join this game. We don't have to keep other weapons on hand for them to come and have a stash of gear to go through and gear up, you know.
Right. We just scrap and recover materials from anything that we're no longer using.
Right, and so most of the time this is going to sit empty. The two things that are going to be in there the most often is going to be lockpicks and repair kits.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have a question here. Why is this block underneath here there?
Because it's hard to reach, and I don't want it to. I didn't want to put a box in there and forget. No, no, don't put a box in there because this space is for the chemistry station.
Okay. Okay. All right. So back to these boxes. We got mods next.
Right, mods. I like to put mods close to the workbench. But in order to that with this, because I've changed the layout with the new game. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
all updated and made more efficient since they made the changes to armor and clothing and whatnot. So I like to put mods here, and then dyes goes above the chemistry station because in my head, you made dyes on the chemistry station.
I honestly think they're still working on dyes because they have like zero effect on clothing, on
Yeah,
armor.
the new armor sets do not. The vehicles do, although the colors you get are pastel and disgusting.
Yeah.
But but
And they work on weapons and tools still, but
yeah.
not so much on the armors.
Yeah, the armors do not yet have much in the way of
But we do separate the dies because you can at some point begin collecting a bunch of them, and you never know when you're going to want to do something.
yeah. And I mean, sometimes I put dyes and mods in the same box, especially if I know it's a temporary base and we're going to be moving as soon as we find a new location. I'll do
Yeah.
just one box and combine them. But for the for the core long-term setup, it's I separate those two things.
Okay.
And
And
then
then
chemistry is all your, you know, bone nitrate powder, old sham sandwiches, rotting flesh, bottles of acid, uh, poisons for making antidotes, um, the oh, what are they called? It's like pheromones or something for making
uh,
the
testosterone.
testosterone for making the steroids and you know, just any of the stuff you do to make meds and make stuff. Like I even used to keep the shale in here, but I started putting the shale in there so that I could quickly ascertain if I needed to go get more shale without, you know, if I come to this box and I see that we're getting low on fuel, I have to go to another box to see if we have more shale or if I need to go farm it. So now I keep the shale in with the fuel just to make it easy for me.
Right. And then we have an actual box for meds.
Right. And then this next four boxes is all about my cooking. And I like to put the food and drinks separate because sometimes I'm in a hurry and or he's in a hurry and I want to be able to quickly tell him top shelf food, second shelf water or whatever, you know, second shelf drinks to tell him what I want him to take for his questing. Now, usually I'm the one mostly here in the base and he goes and does most of the missions, gets the traders unlocked, is the one hauling back all the stuff. But for this series, we're going to be trying to do a lot of that together this time. Cooking mats goes down here. Readied drinks goes there. Readied food goes there. And then, because of the dew collectors, my cleaned water goes into a separate one. It just makes it easier for me. And I like to have 2 campfires. So 2 campfires, 2 mixers, a forge, a workbench, and a chem station. Chem station will be the last thing that comes, which is very annoying because we run out of fuel quickly, but that's apparently
Right.
the way Fun Pimps wants it done, so we're gonna play
Yeah,
along.
I don't know. All right, explain the difference between the wood costs on ladders.
Oh, right. Okay, so first, you can use. I thought it would be cheaper to make wood blocks first rather than making those and then upgrading them. But these only cost 2, and it only costs 8 wood to upgrade one. So it takes 10 to make a wood block, so it comes out even in the end. So you can just make them all out of the building blocks and not have to make the wood blocks. Of course, the building blocks you can pick back up if you make a mistake. The wood blocks you can't. So I recommend upgrading rather than doing it the way I did this, which is making the wood blocks first. Because upgrading gets you XP and making the wood blocks doesn't. Now the other thing, and it doesn't matter a lot because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 ladders here, which is a total of 12 wood. These ladders, these wooden ladders, if you craft it as a wooden ladder from the start, only cost 3 wood apiece, as opposed to 10 wood apiece to take a building block and use one of the ladder shapes. Yeah, and now I'm trying to find it. Oh, that's because it's I like this ladder shape, which is round. That's more wood cost than the other ladders. Now, for 4 ladders, it doesn't really matter that much. You don't have to make the separate ladders. It's just making note of saving materials where you can, because you also are going to want to use whatever leftover wood you have to make logs in order to be able to fuel your forge and your campfires, and eventually your chem station.
Now we're on the roof here, right?
Yes, this is the roof.
I thought there was another level between. Let's talk about dew collectors.
Right, now there is a higher build. Now the goal of the utility box is to make it it took me 1 day to build this. It took the 2 of us gathering the wood, and as I said, it cost about 4,000 wood to build this. Any bigger and you're talking about collecting more wood, and then you have to collect the stone and clay to upgrade it to cobblestone. So the
Right.
more you have to upgrade, the costlier it is, right? So there is a 2-story version of this, which is I continue the wall up around this outer edge and build it up again. The dew collectors, 3 of them, go here, and then the planters go on the roof.
Now you can put bars, some kind of bars above them. Is that correct? So they
Oh
still collect
yeah,
the.
if you wanted to do the second story, and I can show images from my solo play game because I built that in my solo play. Um,
Right.
the dew collectors, you can use those same bars I made windows out of and turn them on their side and put them above the dew collectors, and the rain still comes in. So the dew collectors can still operate as long as it's, they've got the bars. Now, I don't know if these lattice will also let water through. You'd have to do some experimentation with what block shapes will let the dew collectors continue to operate. And I saw a video from somebody else, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Firespark, that you can half cover the dew collector as long as one corner is still under open water, and they will continue to operate. But I don't remember which corner that is.
Right. And then, of course, you could fill in the outer the outer edge on the next level and put your
Right.
planters up. Put your planters up there.
Right. So I'll edit in right here some shots from that other video I made where I did the two-story so that they can see how I lay out the two-story. And the reason I do it that way is because of where I want to put lights. I like to use the lanterns because they don't require electricity. There's a dull lantern and a bright lantern. I do 2 bright lanterns and 1 dull lantern, and that's how I light up the base.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to touch on for this utility box build?
I can't think of anything other than, to me, this is just efficient and quick. It only took us 1 day to get it erected and complete, and it has space for all the stuff you're gonna need. Um, and I think that is its crowning glory. It's not pretty, but
Right.
you can
It's
add the
efficient.
pretty onto it.
Right. You can add a bunch onto the exterior.
So this is basically just the utility box.
All right. Well, if that's it,
Oh,
then I. Oh, what
one more
more?
thing.
Oh, the
Somebody has
markers.
expressed he doesn't like trees being used as markers, so
Yeah, I can't tell the difference.
that's okay. We're gonna cut down some trees, and I'm gonna put in. And this is just if you're playing with other people, because of course, if you're playing by yourself, you can see your markers.
Which is basically just a cylindrical, too tall, and then you put a cone on top, right?
Yeah, I put a cone. I'm just gonna do
And
it.
then she paints them like red or yellow or something, or red and
Yeah,
yellow.
I cheat to do that because of course we don't have paint, so I just use the dev painter and paint them so that you can see them. Because, and this is something I hope Fun Pimps will consider in the future, is that if you are together, you want only the person who owns the land claim can see these borders, and I
Right.
want him to be able to see the borders. So I feel like if you're in the same party, you should be able to see the borders.
I agree. The land claim locked to the one person is in my opinion, if you are allied and grouped, I would think even allied would be enough, but allied and grouped definitely, you should be able to see those markers.
I agree.
I think that's a wrap for this video, right?
Yeah, it is. Thanks again for watching us, guys. Hope this was helpful and informational.
Yep. Hit that like button, that subscribe button. We will keep producing stuff and doing our playthrough.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us. See you in the next one.